The fluorescent lights hummed softly overhead as Marcus Chen guided his cleaning cart through the quiet hallways of TechVision Industries. At 52, his measured movements reflected years of disciplined training, though few would notice such details in a night janitor. His dark blue uniform was always crisp, perfectly pressed, and his employee badge hung straight against his chest, small habits that carried over from his previous life. The clock on the wall read 11:30 p.m. Marcus smiled at the predictable sound of footsteps approaching. Right on schedule, it was Tom making his security rounds. The young guard always had a friendly word to share, and tonight was no different. "Evening, Mr. Chen." "Building's all yours," Tom called out, pulling his flashlight from his belt. "Though I don't know why you always start with the research department. Those scientists are the messiest bunch in the whole place." Marcus chuckled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "The messier the better, Tom. Gives me something to focus on." He didn't mention how the complex cleaning patterns reminded him of mission planning, how each room presented its own strategic challenge. Instead, he simply added, "Besides, they're working on important things up there. They deserve a clean space to do it in." As Tom continued his rounds, Marcus wheeled his cart into the first laboratory. Coffee cups littered the desks, and paper fragments surrounded the overflowing recycling bins. He began his work with careful precision, each movement efficient and purposeful. The familiar scent of cleaning solution filled the air as he transformed the chaos back into order. During his years in Delta Force, Marcus had learned that true professionals never rush their work. Whether planning an operation or cleaning a floor, attention to detail made the difference between success and failure. He applied the same dedication to mopping these tiles as he once had to memorizing mission briefings. The early morning crew started arriving around 4 a.m. Sarah from accounting always arrived first, carrying her oversized coffee mug and wearing comfortable walking shoes. "Good morning, Marcus. The floors are looking extra shiny today," she called out as she passed. "Morning, Sarah," he replied warmly. "Watch your step near the elevator. Just finished there." He took pride in these small interactions, in being part of this working community. After decades of classified operations and living in the shadows, there was something peaceful about simply being the reliable janitor who kept everyone's workspace clean and safe. His military pension meant he didn't need this job. His mortgage was paid off, and his investments were solid. But Marcus had discovered that retirement didn't suit him. He needed a purpose, a reason to get up and contribute something positive to the world. Here at TechVision, he found that purpose in the simple satisfaction of a job well done and in the quiet appreciation of the people who depended on his work. As he finished his shift, the sunrise was just beginning to paint the eastern sky in shades of pink and gold. Marcus completed his final task, polishing the glass doors of the main entrance until they sparkled. He could see his reflection in the clean surface, a tall, well-built man with silver threading through his dark hair. His eyes, sharp and alert despite the night shift, caught every detail of his work. Loading his supplies back onto the cart, Marcus thought about how different this life was from his past. No more high-stakes missions or split-second decisions that could change the course of history. Instead, his victories were measured in clean floors and empty trash bins. And somehow, surprisingly, he had found more contentment in this simple work than he had expected. Here, in the quiet halls of TechVision Industries, Marcus Chen had found his own kind of peace. The morning TechVision's new CEO arrived. The entire building buzzed with nervous energy. James Patterson strode through the glass doors at exactly 7:30 a.m., his Italian leather shoes clicking against the freshly polished floor. At 35, he was one of the youngest CEOs in the industry, a fact he mentioned in every interview. His tailored suit and perfectly styled hair gave him the appearance of success, but there was a coldness in his steel-gray eyes that made people step back. Sarah from accounting watched from her desk as Patterson's first company-wide email arrived. Effective immediately, all departments must reduce operating costs by 25%. No exceptions. The message ended with a quote about excellence that Patterson had attributed to himself. "Did you see this?" Sarah whispered to her colleague Mike. "He's been here less than an hour." Their conversation was cut short by the sharp sound of Patterson's voice echoing down the hallway. "Why are there so many maintenance staff on payroll?" he demanded, waving a spreadsheet at Linda from Human Resources. "This isn't a cleaning company, it's a tech firm. I want a complete audit of all support personnel by tomorrow morning." Linda, who had worked at Tech Vision for 15 years, tried to explain the building's needs. "Sir, we have 3 shifts of maintenance staff because our research labs require constant." "I didn't ask for excuses," Patterson interrupted, his voice carrying across the open office. "I asked for an audit. Tomorrow morning." He turned sharply and headed toward the executive elevator, leaving Linda clutching her tablet with trembling hands. By lunchtime, Patterson had called 3 emergency meetings and sent 17 company-wide emails. Each message emphasized his Harvard MBA and his track record of transforming underperforming assets. The cafeteria was filled with worried whispers as employees discussed the changes already taking place. He fired Janet's entire team. Tom, the security guard, told Marcus during their evening shift crossover. Said their marketing strategies were outdated and lacking vision. Janet's been here 12 years, built the whole department from scratch. Patterson's new policies appeared on every bulletin board the next morning. The clean, modern font couldn't disguise the harsh reality of the changes. Reduced cleaning supplies budget, eliminated overtime for maintenance staff, new restrictions on break room access, and mandatory performance reviews for all support personnel. The CEO spent his afternoons walking through departments, tablet in hand, making notes and frowning. Employees quickly learned to look busy when they heard his approaching footsteps. He had a habit of asking rapid-fire questions about efficiency metrics and cost reduction strategies, then cutting people off mid-answer. "Your previous management team was too soft," Patterson announced during a managers' meeting. "They allowed mediocrity to become acceptable. That ends now." The presentation screen behind him showed a graph of planned staff reductions, with the maintenance department highlighted in angry red. In the break room, a group of developers who had worked late watched Patterson through the glass walls of his corner office. Even at 8 p.m., he was still there, sending emails and making calls. "You know what's weird?" one developer said quietly. "He talks about excellence all the time, but I haven't heard him say a single word about our actual products or our customers." The changes continued to roll out daily. The comfortable chairs in the break room were replaced with hard plastic ones. The coffee service was downgraded to the cheapest brand available. Even the thermostats were reprogrammed to save on heating and cooling costs. Marcus observed all of this during his night shifts, noting how the building's atmosphere had changed. Where there had once been friendly chatter and collaborative energy, now there was only tense silence and worried faces. As he cleaned Patterson's office each night, he couldn't help but notice the framed magazine covers on the wall, all featuring Patterson's own face, all celebrating his reputation as a corporate turnaround specialist. But nowhere in the office was there any sign that Patterson cared about the people who made Tech Vision work. The executive floor of Tech Vision Industries was silent at 11:45 p.m., save for the soft swish of Marcus's mop across the imported marble floors. The special cleaning solution he used, developed specifically for natural stone, filled the air with a subtle lemon scent. Security cameras blinked their red lights steadily as he worked, their presence as familiar to him as the rhythm of his own movements. The unexpected sound of the elevator made Marcus pause. No executives usually stayed this late, and the cleaning schedule was designed to avoid disturbing anyone. The doors slid open to reveal James Patterson, his tie loosened, but his expression as sharp as ever. "What do you think you're doing?" Patterson's voice cut through the quiet. He strode toward Marcus, his shoes leaving marks on the still damp floor. Marcus straightened up slowly, maintaining his professional composure. "Good evening, Mr. Patterson. I'm completing the scheduled cleaning of the executive floor." Patterson's eyes narrowed as he watched Marcus work. That's not the standard cleaning solution we use. He pointed at the bottle on Marcus's cart. Do you have any idea how much these marble floors cost? We can't have just anyone using whatever cleaning products they want. Sir, this is the specialized solution recommended by the manufacturer, Marcus explained calmly, reaching for the documentation he always kept in his cart. It's designed to protect the stone while. I don't need a janitor telling me how to maintain my building. Patterson interrupted, his voice rising. The security cameras continued their silent watch as he stepped closer to Marcus. This is exactly the kind of independence that creates inefficiency. We have standards and protocols for a reason. Marcus remained still, his posture relaxed but alert, a habit from years of training. Mr. Patterson, I understand your concern. Would you like to see the maintenance guidelines? What I'd like, Patterson said, looking down at Marcus's name badge with visible disdain, is for you to do your job without trying to reinvent our procedures. How long have you been here? Clearly too long if you think you can make these decisions on your own. The overhead lights reflected off the marble floors, creating shadows that danced across Patterson's angry face. Marcus noticed Tom, the security guard, appearing at the far end of the hallway, drawn by the sound of raised voices. Someone your age should be grateful to even have this position. Patterson continued, gesturing dismissively. Instead, you're here causing potential damage to company property. Do you know how much it would cost to repair these floors if your special solution damages them? Marcus took a slow breath, the same way he used to when steadying his aim. Sir, I have 15 years of experience in maintenance, including 15 years of pushing a mop doesn't make you an expert, Patterson scoffed, pulling out his phone and beginning to record. I want to document this. Show me exactly what solution you're using, and then explain why you think you know better than company policy. The phone's camera light illuminated Marcus's face as he calmly explained. The standard solution contains acids that can etch marble over time. This fee-neutral cleaner extends the life of the stone. It's actually more cost-effective in the long term. Patterson's laugh echoed off the walls. Cost-effective. Now the janitor wants to give me financial advice. This is exactly what's wrong with this company. Everyone thinks they're too good for their actual job. From his position at the end of the hall, Tom watched uncomfortably as Patterson continued his tirade. The security cameras captured every moment. Patterson's pointing finger, his deliberate steps into Marcus's personal space, the way he raised his voice, while Marcus stood quietly, hands folded in front of him. What the cameras also captured, though Patterson failed to notice, was the way Marcus's stance subtly shifted, a movement that would have been instantly recognizable to his former teammates in Delta Force. It wasn't aggressive or threatening, just the unconscious adjustment of a man who had spent decades being ready for anything. But Patterson, focused on his own authority, saw only what he expected to see, a janitor who needed to be put in his place. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of TechVision Industries as Marcus arrived for what would be his final meeting. He had received the email at 6 a.m. Report to CEO's office, 9 a.m. sharp, regarding last night's incident. He wore his usual clean uniform, every button fastened, his shoes polished to a shine. The office was unusually quiet as he walked through. Sarah from accounting caught his eye and gave him a worried smile. News of last night's confrontation had spread quickly. Tom, the security guard, had already been called in to provide his witness statement to HR. Patterson's new executive assistant, a nervous young man named David, stood as Marcus approached. Mr. Patterson is expecting you. He's asked that the department heads join as well. David's voice carried a note of sympathy as he gestured toward the glass-walled conference room. Inside, Patterson sat at the head of the table, surrounded by 6 department heads who looked everywhere except at Marcus. A folder labeled Personnel Action lay in front of Patterson, already opened. Sit down, Patterson commanded, not looking up from his papers. Marcus chose a seat halfway down the table, his movements calm and deliberate. The morning light cast long shadows across the polished surface of the conference table. "I called this meeting," Patterson began, finally looking up, "to address a serious breach of company protocol and to demonstrate the consequences of insubordination." He turned to the department heads. "As leaders, you need to see how we handle employees who think they're above the rules." Sarah's voice carried through the partially open door as she whispered to her colleagues gathered outside. "They can't do this. Marcus has been here longer than most of us." David quietly closed the door, cutting off the murmurs from outside. Patterson slid the personnel file across the table. "Your employment record shows multiple instances of deviating from standard procedures. Last night's incident was the final straw. Using unauthorized cleaning products on expensive company property, arguing with management, displaying a complete disregard for authority." Marcus sat perfectly still, his hands resting lightly on the armrests of his chair. Anyone who knew him well would have recognized his expression, the same one he wore during mission briefings when crucial information was being shared. "Furthermore," Patterson continued, his voice rising for the benefit of his audience, "your attitude suggests you're not suited for your position. This company is modernizing, and we need people who understand their place in the organization." One of the department heads, Dr. Thompson from Research and Development, cleared his throat. "Mr. Patterson, if I may." "You may not." Patterson cut him off sharply. "This isn't a discussion." He pulled out a formal termination notice, already signed. "Effective immediately, your employment with Tech Vision Industries is terminated. Security will escort you to collect your belongings." The room fell silent. Through the glass walls, employees pretended not to watch, but their concern was visible in every paused conversation and worried glance. Tom stood ready by the elevator, his usual friendly smile replaced by a professional mask. Marcus slowly stood up, his chair making no sound as he pushed it back. "May I speak, Mr. Patterson?" Patterson waved his hand dismissively. "The decision is final. We don't need to hear excuses from the cleaning staff." "No excuses," Marcus replied, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone used to being heard. "I just wanted to thank my colleagues for the past 3 years." He turned to the department heads, nodding respectfully. "It's been a privilege to help maintain the spaces where you do such important work." The simple dignity of his response seemed to irritate Patterson even more. "Security will take you to clean out your locker," he snapped, already turning his attention to his phone. "Let this serve as an example to everyone about the standards we expect at Tech Vision." As Marcus walked out, head held high, even Patterson's executive assistant had to look away from the injustice unfolding before them. The morning sun continued to stream through the windows, illuminating the marble floors that Marcus had so carefully maintained, still gleaming from last night's work. Tom walked beside Marcus to the employee locker room, maintaining a professional distance but clearly uncomfortable with his assigned task. The morning shift workers they passed quickly looked away, embarrassed to witness this moment. Marcus moved with the same measured pace he always had, showing no signs of distress or anger. "I'm sorry about this, Mr. Chen," Tom said quietly as they reached the locker room. "Everyone knows you're the best janitor we've ever had." He waited by the door, giving Marcus privacy to collect his belongings. Marcus opened his locker, carefully removing his few personal items, a small photo of his old unit, faces blurred for security, a spare set of work clothes, and a worn copy of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Each item went into his plain black backpack with precise movements. Sarah from accounting appeared at the doorway, slightly out of breath. "Marcus, we're all going to speak to HR. This isn't right. Patterson can't just." "It's all right, Sarah," Marcus interrupted gently, closing his locker for the last time. "Some battles aren't meant to be fought." His voice carried no bitterness, only a calm acceptance that seemed to puzzle those watching. As they walked back toward the main entrance, Patterson emerged from his office, clearly expecting to see Marcus looking defeated. Instead, he found himself facing a man whose presence somehow seemed larger now, more defined. "Before I leave, Mr. Patterson, Marcus said, his voice carrying clearly through the now silent office. I think you should know something about those cleaning procedures you questioned. Patterson's face reddened. I told you, we don't need. They were developed during my military service, Marcus continued smoothly, his tone remaining respectful but firm. When you're responsible for maintaining equipment in hostile environments, you learn that proper care can mean the difference between life and death. The office had gone completely still. Even the usual sound of keyboards and phone calls had ceased. Patterson shifted uncomfortably, something in Marcus's calm demeanor making him uncertain for the first time. In special operations, Marcus went on, we learned that attention to detail isn't just about following protocols. It's about understanding why those protocols exist and adapting them when necessary to achieve the best possible outcome. A flicker of unease crossed Patterson's face as he processed Marcus's words. The term special operations hung in the air, causing several nearby employees to exchange significant looks. Your marble floors will last longer with the cleaning solution I used, Marcus added, allowing himself a small smile. But that's your choice now. Thank you for the opportunity to serve this company. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mr. Patterson. The security cameras in the executive wing, the ones that recorded our interaction last night, they're working perfectly. I made sure of that during my last shift. Patterson's face paled slightly as Marcus walked toward the exit, his back straight, his steps unhurried. Tom hurried to open the door, offering a respectful nod that seemed more fitting for a commanding officer than a janitor. As Marcus stepped into the morning sunlight, he could hear the buzz of conversation building behind him. His words had been few, but carefully chosen, just enough to make Patterson question his assumptions without revealing the full extent of his background. Walking to his car, Marcus pulled out his phone and saw 3 missed calls from his former Delta Force commander, now running a private security firm. He had been offering Marcus a consulting position for months. Perhaps it was time to consider that offer, after he finished the book he'd been reading. After all, Marcus Aurelius had some interesting things to say about maintaining dignity in the face of injustice. The morning traffic flowed around Tech Vision Industries as Marcus drove away, leaving behind a building full of people who were beginning to realize they had never really known their night janitor at all. The Tech Vision boardroom buzzed with unusual activity for a Friday afternoon. Board member Elizabeth Chen, no relation to Marcus, sat at her laptop, scrolling through employee complaints about Patterson's management style. The firing of a night janitor wouldn't normally reach board level, but something about this situation felt different. Look at this, said Robert Martinez, another board member, turning his tablet toward his colleagues. 17 employees have submitted formal complaints about Marcus Chen's dismissal. Even Dr. Thompson from R&D wrote a 3-page letter defending him. Elizabeth nodded, pushing her reading glasses up. And that's not all. HR forwarded me the security footage from the executive floor. Patterson's behavior was completely unprofessional. The room's atmosphere shifted as William Harris, the eldest board member, cleared his throat. A retired Air Force general, he had been unusually quiet during the initial discussion. I think we should look into Mr. Chen's background more carefully. His fingers moved across his keyboard, and suddenly the large screen at the end of the room displayed a military personnel file. The photo showed a younger Marcus Chen in full dress uniform, his chest decorated with rows of medals. I thought I recognized his name, William said quietly. Master Sergeant Marcus Chen. 20 years in Delta Force. Led some of the most successful special operations in recent history. He paused, looking around the room. Most of his missions are still classified, but I can tell you this. There are American soldiers alive today because of this man. Sarah from accounting, who had been invited to share her observations, gasped softly. The Marcus she knew, who always had a kind word and made sure the break room was spotless, was suddenly cast in a new light. In 2015, William continued, he led a mission that prevented a major terrorist attack. Can't give you the details, but it earned him the Distinguished Service Cross. He clicked through more documents. After retirement, he could have taken any number of high-paying security positions. Instead, he chose to work as a janitor. Robert leaned forward. But why? With his qualifications. Some veterans, William explained, especially from special operations, seek quiet roles after service. They've had enough excitement. They want to contribute without being in the spotlight. He closed the file. And from what I'm seeing, Marcus Chen contributed more to this company's daily operations than Patterson has in his entire tenure. Elizabeth pulled up another email. The maintenance staff compiled a report. Apparently, Chen's cleaning methods have extended the life of our equipment significantly. Those unauthorized products he used, they're actually military-grade solutions that prevent wear and tear better than our standard supplies. The boardroom's tension was palpable as more details emerged. Tom, the security guard, had submitted his own statement, describing how Marcus had quietly improved building security protocols without ever taking credit. Dr. Thompson's team credited their lab's pristine condition to Marcus's attention to detail. There's more, Sarah added, her voice steady despite her nervousness at addressing the board. Every morning, he would check all the emergency exits, test the alarm systems, and inspect the building's perimeter. We thought he was just being thorough. Now I realize he was doing a full security sweep. William stood up, his military bearing evident. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a situation here. We've allowed a CEO with 6 months of experience to dismiss a highly decorated veteran who spent 3 years quietly making our workplace better and safer. He turned to face the window, looking out over the city. And if I'm not mistaken, the press would have a field day with this story. The board members exchanged glances. Patterson's appointment had been controversial from the start, but this situation had exposed a deeper problem with his leadership style. The revelation of Marcus's background wasn't just embarrassing. It highlighted how badly Patterson had misjudged both the man and the situation. Elizabeth closed her laptop decisively. I think it's time we had a serious discussion about the future of TechVision's leadership. Linda from Human Resources sat in her office, surrounded by stacks of employee complaints. Her computer screen displayed a spreadsheet tracking Patterson's decisions since his arrival at TechVision. The pattern emerging from the data was impossible to ignore. Come look at this, she called to her colleague Mark. In just 3 months, Patterson has fired 28 people. All of them were either over 50 or had been with the company more than 10 years. Mark leaned over her shoulder, frowning at the numbers. And look at these cost-cutting measures. He's not just trimming excess, he's cutting into essential services. He pointed to another column. The maintenance budget is down 60%, but our repair costs have doubled. The investigation that had started with Marcus Chen's dismissal had opened a floodgate. Employees from every department were coming forward with stories. Sarah from accounting arrived with a thick folder of financial records. He's been manipulating the numbers, Sarah explained, spreading documents across Linda's desk, making short-term cuts look like profit improvements. But if you look at the long-term projections, she pulled out a graph showing a dangerous downward trend in sustainability metrics. Down in it, tech specialists were reviewing the security footage from the executive floor. The cameras Marcus had maintained so carefully had captured more than just his confrontation with Patterson. Look at this, said Jerry from it, replaying a series of clips. Every time Patterson meets with employees, he records them without consent. That's against company policy and possibly state law. The screen showed Patterson repeatedly using his phone to film workers during confrontations he had initiated. Dr. Thompson from R&D brought his own concerns to the board. Since Patterson arrived, we've lost 12 key researchers. These aren't just employees. They're experts with decades of experience. You can't replace that knowledge overnight. The boardroom walls were now covered with timeline charts and data points. Elizabeth Chen studied a particularly concerning graph. He's been pushing out experienced workers to hire fresh graduates at lower salaries. On paper, it looks like cost savings, but we're losing institutional knowledge. William Harris, the retired general, reviewed security reports with a professional eye. Marcus wasn't just cleaning. He was providing informal security consulting worth thousands of dollars. These safety protocols he implemented. He tapped the paper appreciatively. This is military-grade risk assessment. Patterson, unaware of the investigation's scope, continued his usual routine. He sent another company-wide email about excellence and accountability, while the evidence against him mounted. Tom, the security guard, provided access logs showing Patterson's irregular hours, arriving early, leaving late, always when fewer witnesses were present. He picks his moments carefully, Tom explained. Confronts people when they're alone or vulnerable. The employee satisfaction surveys told their own story. Morale had plummeted since Patterson's arrival. Anxiety levels were up, productivity was down, and the company's previously low turnover rate had tripled. Linda compiled all the evidence into a comprehensive report. The final document was damning. Patterns of age discrimination, hostile work environment claims, financial misrepresentation, and violation of multiple company policies. It's not just about Marcus Chen anymore, Linda told the board during her presentation. His dismissal was just the tip of the iceberg. Patterson's leadership style isn't just harsh, it's actively damaging our company's future. As she spoke, another email from Patterson appeared on everyone's screens, announcing yet another round of efficiency measures. The board members exchanged knowing looks. The evidence was clear. Patterson's aggressive cost-cutting and intimidation tactics weren't creating excellence. They were destroying the company's foundation. Elizabeth Chen closed the final report and looked at her fellow board members. I think we've seen enough. The question now isn't whether to act, but how quickly we can stop this damage from spreading further. Patterson straightened his tie as he strode toward the boardroom, replying to emails on his phone. The emergency meeting request had arrived an hour ago, and he assumed it was to discuss his latest cost-cutting proposals. The confident smile on his face faded as he opened the door and saw every board member present, along with Linda from HR and Sarah from accounting. Sit down, Mr. Patterson, Elizabeth Chen said, her voice carrying the weight of authority. The usual pleasantries were noticeably absent. The large screen behind her displayed a series of graphs and charts that Patterson didn't recognize. I've prepared a presentation about our next phase of improvements, Patterson began, reaching for his tablet. William Harris, the retired general, raised his hand to stop him. That won't be necessary, William said firmly. We're here to discuss the findings of our internal investigation. He pressed a button, and the security footage of Patterson's confrontation with Marcus Chen filled the screen. Patterson's face reddened. That situation was handled according to company policy. The employee in question was Master Sergeant Chen. William corrected him, is a highly decorated Delta Force veteran who chose to work here after 20 years of distinguished service. He slid a folder across the table. But this meeting isn't just about him. Linda stepped forward, opening her laptop. Our investigation has revealed a pattern of concerning behavior. Her fingers moved across the keyboard, and new data appeared on the screen. In 3 months, you've terminated 28 employees, all over 50, or with more than 10 years of experience. Cost-cutting measures, Patterson defended, but his voice had lost some of its usual confidence. The company needed streamlining. These are the real numbers, Sarah interrupted, displaying her financial analysis. Your short-term cuts have increased our long-term costs by 40%. Equipment repair costs have doubled since you reduced the maintenance budget. Robert Martinez, another board member, leaned forward. We've also received copies of your unauthorized recordings of employees. Did you know that's against state law, Mr. Patterson? The color drained from Patterson's face as he realized the extent of the investigation. I was documenting policy violations. The only policy violations we found, Elizabeth Chen cut in, are yours. She began listing them off. Age discrimination, creating a hostile work environment, financial misrepresentation, improper surveillance of employees. Patterson's phone buzzed. Another email from a client. But he didn't dare check it now. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair as the evidence continued to mount. 4 of our biggest clients have expressed concerns about recent changes, Dr. Thompson added from his seat near the door. They've noticed the decline in service quality since you cut our essential staff. William Harris stood up, his military bearing commanding attention. Mr. Patterson, you were hired to lead this company, not dismantle it. Your actions have damaged morale, driven away valuable employees, and put our contracts at risk. I can explain everything, Patterson started, but Elizabeth Chen raised her hand for silence. The numbers speak for themselves, she said, displaying a final graph showing the company's declining performance metrics. Your leadership style has created a culture of fear instead of excellence. Patterson looked around the room, searching for any sympathetic faces, but found none. The same employees he had dismissed as unimportant had documented everything. His own recordings, meant to intimidate workers, had become evidence against him. The board has reached a decision, Elizabeth announced, sliding a document across the table. Your position as CEO is terminated, effective immediately. As the words sank in, Patterson realized that his grand plans for corporate transformation had led to his own downfall. The marble floors outside the boardroom still gleamed with the special care Marcus Chen had given them, a silent testament to the difference between real leadership and mere authority. 2 weeks after Patterson's departure, the atmosphere at TechVision Industries had already begun to change. The morning sun streamed through the windows, illuminating employees who no longer flinched when senior management walked by. Elizabeth Chen, now serving as interim CEO, stood in the lobby, watching the familiar faces of the morning shift arriving. Sarah from accounting hurried through the door, carrying an envelope. We found him, she announced excitedly. Marcus is working as a security consultant at Veterans Support Industries. Their CEO is his former commander. Elizabeth smiled, holding a carefully worded letter in her hands. The board had unanimously agreed to offer Marcus his position back, along with a formal apology and significantly improved conditions. They'd even created a new role for him, head of facility security and maintenance operations. Tom, the security guard, was giving the morning briefing to his team, implementing some of the protocols Marcus had quietly suggested during his time as janitor. These procedures, he explained proudly, were developed by a Delta Force veteran. We're lucky he shared them with us. Dr. Thompson emerged from his lab, where productivity had already improved since the restoration of the full maintenance budget. The cleaning staff is using Marcus's recommended solutions again, he reported to Elizabeth. Our equipment maintenance costs are down 30% from last month. The elevator dinged, and Linda from HR stepped out, carrying a stack of new company policies. The board had worked overtime to reshape the company culture, starting with strong anti-discrimination protections and a new emphasis on valuing experienced employees. Marcus called, Linda announced, joining Elizabeth by the windows. He appreciates the offer, but he's happy in his new position. Said something about finally finding work that combines both sides of his experience. Elizabeth nodded, understanding. What did he say about our request for consulting? He agreed to help review our security and maintenance procedures. Linda replied, smiling. Said he'd do it as a courtesy, no charge. He just wants to make sure the building is properly taken care of. Outside, workers were installing a new plaque in the lobby. It detailed TechVision's commitment to respecting all employees, regardless of their position or background. The first line read, every role is essential, every contribution valuable. Patterson's office had been cleared out, his framed magazine covers replaced with company achievements and team photos. His motivational quotes about excellence had been taken down, replaced with genuine recognition of employee contributions. The morning cleaning staff worked with renewed pride, using the specialized solutions Marcus had introduced. Their uniforms now carried a new patch, Facilities and Security Team, an acknowledgement that maintaining the building was about more than just cleanliness. David, the former executive assistant, now worked with a new sense of purpose under Elizabeth's leadership. It's amazing, he told Sarah during their coffee break. "I actually look forward to coming to work now." In the boardroom, William Harris shared an update from his military contacts. Marcus's new company just won a major contract providing security consulting to tech firms. Apparently, his unique perspective on facility maintenance and security is in high demand. The final piece of Patterson's efficiency furniture, those uncomfortable break room chairs, was being carried out. Marcus was right about so many things, Elizabeth reflected, watching the employees gather comfortably in the renovated space. Sometimes the most valuable insights come from unexpected places. As the day drew to a close, Tom made his evening rounds, following the security protocols Marcus had established. He smiled at the cleaning crew, remembering how Marcus had always treated everyone with the same quiet respect, regardless of their position. The lights of TechVision Industries shone brightly in the evening sky, a beacon of changed corporate culture. The company had learned its lesson. True leadership isn't about authority or cost-cutting. It's about respecting every person's dignity and contribution, from the CEO to the night janitor. And somewhere across town, a former Delta Force operator turned consultant smiled, knowing that sometimes the best way to lead is by quietly serving others.